We have whales crossed with dolphins to create this majestic creature. We also have a domestic cat crossbred with a wild cat, and now you can have this guy at home. The list goes on, so don't swipe or click away because here are the top 10 amazing hybrid animals that actually exist. Number 10. Zonkey Zedonks. Cross a zebra and a donkey, what do you get? You get a zonkey. Or is it a zedonk? It doesn't matter, the important thing is that these are the cutest animal hybrids in the world. If the zebra genes are stronger, then the zonkey will have pale stripes all over the body. However, if the donkey genes are stronger, then the animal will only have stripes on its legs and underbelly. The main place that you can find these guys is in Africa, and they're often displayed in many zoos across the country. Just like a zebra, they can run at about 35 miles per hour, and they have a lifespan of between 15 and 25 years. If you look at the weight, then the zonkey will be approximately 600 pounds. Just like their parents, the zonkey is still a herbivore. Number 9. Savannah Cat. Now, this might be a little tough to guess, but the Savannah cat is a crossbreed between a domestic cat and a serval, an African wildcat of medium size. They became popular in the 90s, which was right after the first Savannah cat was born. In April of 1986, Judy Frank took a domestic Siamese cat and a serval and managed to breed them together. What resulted was a cat like no other. And when the International Cat Association accepted them as a special species of home cat, they became official. Even though it might be difficult to breed them, they're worth it. The cats are very loyal, and they have no problem following the owner around the house. And how many cats do you know who would allow their owners to put a leash around their necks? In the States, owning hybrids is accepted, and they're considered just like any other cats. Canada and Australia are the same way. The problem comes with the vaccines. You see, whether or not you do it, the cat will still be treated as unvaccinated. This isn't bad until your little Savannah bites someone. At that point, the veterinarian might require you to euthanize or keep strictly at home. Number 8. Narluga. Cross the unicorn of the sea with a beluga whale and you get a Narluga. The first time they were discovered was in 1990. One scientist from Greenland found a whale skull that looked a little different than usual. You see, when he was examining the skull, he noticed that this one had only 18 teeth, beluga whales have 40, and narwhals have none. That's because they feed through suction. Another interesting find was that all of the teeth were in the front of the mouth and they had a spiral in them similar to the spiral in a narwhal's horn. And it took this scientist almost 30 years to smash that like button just like you should do if you haven't done so already. But no, in all seriousness, it took them 30 years to DNA analyze the teeth and determine that they belonged to a hybrid, a mix of a beluga whale and a narwhal, and it's believed that they are not the only ones alive today. Number 7. Coy wolf. Unlike the 3 previous examples, the coy wolf is a cross between 3 animals: coyotes, gray wolves, and eastern wolves. Now, because of all of the members of the Canis genus are related and can easily interbreed, it's not surprising to find out that the majority of the gray wolf population in America have some small part of coyote genes in them. If you compare the coyote and the wolf to the coy wolf, you'll realize that the coy wolves are actually smaller than a wolf, but they're larger than a coyote. In fact, they even did a study on this where they were examining how coy wolves born from a male gray wolf and a female coyote differed from actual coyotes. And of course, they found out that even though the mom was a coyote, the pups were all born slightly larger than the coyote pups. Number 6. Beefalo. Take a bull and cross it with a female American bison and you get a beefalo. This crossbreed was actually man-made in the hopes of producing cattle that would have a lot more meat than the cows or bulls. But they had to be careful because anything over 37.5% in bison genetics and they would only be bison hybrids. Even though the accidental crossbreeds between cattle and buffalo could be reported way back in 1749, it's in the 19th century. The man did it successfully, but they were not fertile. It wasn't until 1965 when Jim Burnett from Montana made a bull hybrid that was also fertile. Now, when examined by the US Department of Agriculture, it was actually concluded that the meat from a beefalo was lower in fat and cholesterol when compared to beef cattle. Plus, the beefalo was much larger than an ordinary bull. That's a win-win. Number 5. Kama. The Camel Reproduction Center in Dubai took a female llama and a male dromedary camel and they crossbred them. After a lot of experiments, the first Kama came to life through artificial insemination, man-made pregnancy on January 14, 1998. The reason they made stringent efforts to produce a llama that could produce more wool and still have the size and strength of a camel. And it worked. The Kama had more fur than a guanaco llama since its length of the fur is 6 centimeters. As a Kama, they're herbivores and eat only plants. Just like their camel forefathers, the Kama doesn't need to drink a lot of water. It's capable of storage. This means that the Kama can go for extended periods of time without drinking any water. Number 4. Wolphin. Take a whale and take a dolphin and you have the Wolphin. Now, this is not something that you see every day. Successful breeding of these two almost never happens, even though they're practically from the same family of oceanic dolphin. The first time it did happen at SeaWorld in Tokyo in 1981, the Wolphin died after 200 days. But then, just 4 years later, on May 15, 1985, the first healthy Wolphin was born. It was the cross between a killer whale and a dolphin, and it was born in Sea Life Park in Hawaii. There are some calves that were born from the Wolphin, but they're only 35% killer whale, so they're more dolphin than Wolphin. Top 3. Number 3. Liger. This giant quote-unquote domestic liger is actually 5 years old. It's a cross between a lion and a tiger. This bad boy had a mother tiger and a father lion. That's why you see the liger tall like a mountain, and he's gonna grow even bigger in the next 2 to 3 years of his life. If it were the other way around, meaning it was a tiger father and a lion mother, then the liger would have been much smaller, about the same size as a tiger. The trainers walking him have been surrounded by lions and tigers their entire lives, which is why they were able to experiment with the animals without harming them. Number 2. Pizzly. Well folks, just when we thought we've seen it all, this is what a cross between a polar bear and a grizzly bear looks like. Call us crazy, but we think this has Russia written all over it. No, wait, it has nothing to do with Russia. In fact, the first Pizzly was actually a natural occurrence, and it happened in the Canadian Arctic back in 2006. Later on, the number of these polar bears has risen to about 8, and they all seem to stem from the same female polar bear. Now, this isn't something new because grizzly bears' polar bear breeds were seen in the past. The only good thing now is that through DNA testing, we're able to determine if it's actually a crossbreed. Number 1. Jaglion. Just like the name suggests, a Jaglion is a cross between a jaguar and a lion. And back on April 9, 2006, 2 healthy Jaglions were born as the Bear Creek Wildlife Sanctuary. And they have one hell of a story. The black Jaglion was called Jazara and was a female, and the wild Jaglion, which was a male, was called Tsunami. Now, some of you might be wondering how a sanctuary can be this irresponsible for breeding 2 animals of different species, but this isn't actually the case. You see, back when Lola, the lioness in the picture, was only a baby, she grew really close to Diablo, a baby jaguar. Because Lola and Diablo came to Bear Creek Wildlife Sanctuary within weeks of each other, they were both bottle-fed at the same time, and they couldn't stay away from each other. Seeing how the 2 animals grew a liking to each other, they put them in the same cage. As they began reaching sexual maturity, the sanctuary was aware that they could reproduce, so Diablo and Lola were separated. This didn't go so well. You see, Lola became so depressed when they moved Diablo that she refused to eat, so they had no choice but to put them in the same cage. Still, they were keeping a close eye on them because they don't want the animals reproducing. However, nothing can stop Mother Nature. The babies were born in April of 2006, and since then, these 2 Jaglions have grown into healthy and strong adults, and are one of the few Jaglions in the world. If you enjoyed this video, you'll like the next one. This is Koala with quality content. See you soon.